All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know it's probably going to be a light group today because of the holiday, but for those of you that decided to show up this morning, bless you, because this will be a show to remember. Now, we're starting to wind down the series, The 100, and it seems like at every step along the way, this Decode series has been under heavy scrutiny. I've never had this many problems with copyright before on any other series that I've ever done. It like every single montage I uploaded would get hit with a copyright. So I would have to pull them down, and for some reason they leave alone they're leaving alone the longer shows like this one. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we're more careful. I don't know. But crazy times, you guys. Now, today you're probably going to see why they were pulling down those trailers. They basically come right out and tell you what their future plans were all along. Now, everything that you're about to see next was aired on television in 2018, 2 years before the spamdemic. Now, let me first get you guys caught up on the plot, then we'll get into this trailer. Now, this trailer, again, I had to take it down 2 times over the weekend. I tried to upload it, but you're going to see it now. So, we talked all about Prime Fire in the last Decode. And Prime Fire was basically this meltdown of all these nuclear facilities all over the planet that melted down as a result of the original nuclear war. And it took Prime Fire like 100 years to develop as these nuclear facilities begin to melt down. So there was this new impending threat of the world being wiped out once again. Now, the grounders survive by going to a bunker underground. But then what happens is they're stuck down there. There's too many people, and all these horrible atrocities are perpetrated on each other to survive. Now, another group who is much smaller, they find a rocket, and they are able to go back up to space and rejoin the remains of the space station called the Ring. Now, we showed you how the ring looks like a crown or a corona, and we'll get into aspects of that imagery as well later in this show. Now, as they wait out Prime Fire and wait for the Earth to regrow, 6 years go by, and they find this oasis of life called Eden. And, of course, Eden, right? Now, there's all kinds of other biblical references in the show, but they had to name this little oasis Eden. And it becomes the only arable land on the entire surface of the earth. And they surmise that it probably survived the Prime Fire because it was tucked in this very deep valley, and the fire went right over the top of it. Now, a battle ensues for the claim over this oasis. And to add to the plot, a spaceship full of convicts returns home from a mining mission. And they're the first ones to actually find Eden after they overpowered their prison guards on the prison ship. But here's what's going on, and this is where we're getting into the trailer here. The prison guards realize that they're all dying from this strange lung disease. It's basically looks a lot like CV-19. And even though these convicts have bigger guns and an eye-in-the-sky satellite, they have the advantage militarily, but they don't want to wipe out the survivors yet because they need them to help them find a cure for this lung disease. Now, if that isn't spooky enough, watch this.
It presents itself with black spots, pulmonary tumefaction, most likely caused by whatever you were mining.
13 more patients, all with similar symptoms. Can you treat it?
It's really difficult without a biopsy. And if it's cancer, then the prognosis...
It's not cancer.
Now, this is Vincent. He's one of the convicts. And, of course, he's the serial killer of the bunch. But look at this creepy tattoo he's got on his chest.
That's a fair amount of abscesses, isn't it, Doctor?
He says, it's a fair amount of abscesses, isn't it, Doctor? she's doing a lung scan on him. Now, you're going to want to hold on to your seat for this one as she's scanning Vincent's lungs. She realizes that she can break up the masses with sound frequencies. Problem is that when she hits them with the sound frequency, they turn into what appears to be little Sharona spike proteins. Watch.
Did you feel that?
Feel what?
One of the abscesses broke apart. It was the sound waves. It was the sound waves. It was the sound waves. Did you feel that?
Feel what?
I can dissolve them and then suction out the residue. I just need more power.
So, now that you know what you're looking at, the rest of the images and the dialogue make sense, right? Now, you got to think opposites here. If you can dissolve something with sound waves, you can also coalesce things with sound waves and bring them together, can't you? Into a mass. Now, this is the back of Vincent's prisoner number. And of course, it's 119, right? Now, the prison ship is called the Eligius. And I believe what that's referring to is Saint Eligius. And of course, there is a Saint Germain connection here. Now, we've talked about Saint Germain, not at length, but we mentioned Saint Germain in its connection to some of what's going on right now. Among other goldsmithing work soon entrusted to Eligius were the bas reliefs for the tomb of Saint Germain. Now, I think I put a clip in here of what real spikes look like, so you could compare the two if you've forgotten. I mean, we've been bombarded by these images of the spike, haven't we? These are real spikes, and you can see that they definitely look like that's what they're depicting in the lungs of Vincent.
Getting blown up must suck, huh? No, chronic lung disease is worse.
Chronic lung disease. Now, of course, now that you know what's in Vincent's lungs, all the other symbols make sense. Like this Dina strand I found in front of the church where they hold the prisoners.
I'll take your word for it.
There you see it here. The Dina strand. That's clearly what's being depicted there. On the clothesline. Now you're going to hear outright mockery as she describes their lungs filling up.
Your lungs, I can hear the fluid filling up in them. Now you're drowning. You're not even getting wet. You're all set. Your lungs are clear. And I'll see you again in 2 hours.
Now, of course, what's left of humanity in that season, they destroy Eden in their fight to control it. It's actually the convicts who launch this bomb. They destroy all of Eden, but not before most of humanity makes it back up to this prison ship that was basically abandoned by the convicts. They go back up into space. They go into cryo sleep to wait for life to regrow on Earth, but it never does. So they end up staying asleep for 200 years. Now, one of their friends, who's an engineer, he decides to stay awake because he just wants peace, right? He believes that humanity is the reason why all this happens. Notice how they never attribute humanity's flaws to where the blame should go, which is the serpent, the enemy. He's the one that causes humanity to do what we do. So one of the engineers stays awake with his girlfriend. They have a kid, and they're trying to wait for the Earth to regrow so they can go back down, right? But then he realizes the only option is to steer the ship to another habitable planet called Sanctum. It takes like 75 years to get there, but it in fact is a habitable planet. And in this scene, these are two of the crew, two of the main characters actually, and they're waking up to this new planet. How did they get there? Both of these are guilty. Both these people are guilty, these characters, of sacrificing lots and lots of people along the way to quote unquote protect the human race. And what is the symbol of sacrifice? Let's see if you can find it here in this as I play this. What is the symbol for sacrifice? We all know what it is. It is the adrenal gland chrome soccer ball sitting conspicuously in the chair. Now, this soccer ball has made its appearance throughout the series. And why do I call it an adrenal gland chrome soccer ball? Because the pattern on the soccer ball matches the pattern on the adrenal gland molecule, chrome molecule. Notice how it's just out of place here. Nothing else in this image goes. It's like an Easter egg, right? So they land on this new planet, and they very quickly realize that the planet is not empty. What they find are a group of settlers who have turned into religious fanatics who also sacrifice people so they can live forever. Now, we'll get into how that happens a little bit later in the show. But when they land, they start going crazy. They start attacking each other, and they don't know why. They realize that it has something to do with the corona eclipse. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up, you guys. They find an entire settlement built into the center of a massive lotus flower. Well, of course, lotus means Kamala. Remember, this was 2018. I'll show you that lotus flower settlement at the end of this trailer here. But what you're going to see next is one of the girls from the original settlement that they found on this planet when they landed. She's a biologist, and we'll get into her later as well because she says some very profound things.
I'm eclipsing the eclipse.
The eclipse causes the plants to release a toxin that affects our nervous system.
The eclipse releases a toxin, it causes the plants to release a toxin on their nervous system. Now, this part next is going to give you chills. The word toxin appears in Revelation 6:2. It's a ribbon or a bow. It's carried by the rider of the white horse who wears a corona or a crown.
Toxin. Look, are you sure it's not just you?
And, of course, a rider on a white horse carrying a toxin bow, ribbon, and wearing a crown also appears on tarot card number 19. Now let that sink in for a second. Behind this figure is a wall. Now, we had first decoded this tarot card. I don't believe in tarot cards. Tarot cards are evil. But the evil ones, this is what they use to work their magic, right? That's why we're looking at it. Otherwise, I would not be looking at a tarot card. Just want to be clear here. We first started decoding this and noticed this tarot card way back in May of 2020. Here's a screenshot from the video. I'll put a link to this video for those of you that want to see this full live show. But we basically encoded this as the Trump tarot card. This is a Trump card. It's called the Sun. You can see it right here. Number 19, the Trump card. Now, why is this important? Well, we were talking about this on May 12th, 2020, even before the T-Man announced Operation Warp Speed. Before we even knew there would be a sticker made. Wasn't even announced yet. This is creepy, you guys. The bow and the corona. Now, let's get back to this here. Because this girl is a biologist. The girl you're going to see next. And her family was tasked. They tasked her with classifying all of the plants and animals on this new planet. And you're going to hear her mention Wu, W-U, which is the first two letters of the Chinese Wu-Tang Lab, right? We would hear about this 2 years later after this episode aired. And you're going to hear her say that Wu means freaks in Chinese.
I'm saying the toxin is you.
You said if we heard the insects, the toxin was gone. So what aren't you telling us?
The eclipse is over.
So I created a new taxonomic category, Wai-Wu.
Wai-Wu?
Why woo?
Why Wu?
Why woo? Why woo?
Freaks in Chinese. Well,
Freaks in Chinese.
Mandarin to be exact.
How many species have you cataloged today?
17. Still
Of course, she's cataloged 17 species. 17th letter of the alphabet is the alphabet that shall not be named, which I believe stands for the word serpent. The serpent is the letter that shall not be named, the 17th letter of the alphabet. Now, what is so special about Wu? Well, we have a new variant called Mu. Mu means negative, and Mu is also Wu. You can't make this up. Now, we did a video, Monsters University, MU, in which we showed you that one of the monsters, his hair looked like a spike protein. Wu is Mu. Wu Hang. Now, shortly after this scene, this biologist girl, she describes this Waiwu, as a reptile. I had to edit that part out because for some reason that was the part that kept catching the copyright. And she says they eat a berry, which is a fruit. The Bible calls children fruit. And she says the berry tastes like cotton candy. So this reptile eats cotton candy pink fruit, which of course is the color of the adrenal gland chrome. She ends up feeding this berry back to the children.
Still only 3 evolutionary branches: insect, rodent, and reptile. 17. One of them eats a berry that...
So you heard it. You did hear her say that. A reptile. One of them eats a berry.
Tastes like cotton candy. Tastes like cotton candy.
Tastes like cotton candy. She fed it to a child named Lily, who she says loved it. We all know what Lily represents.
Tastes like cotton candy.
You tried it?
I made the kids do it. Lily loved it.
Lily loved it. Now I'm pausing through here because for some reason this is a sensitive part of the video for the copyright people.
You tried it? You tried it? How long ago?
Mom, if it were poisonous, they'd be dead by now. Tastes like cotton candy. They'd be dead by now. 10 to 1, it's the eclipse.
So, the first expedition, as you just saw there, they went crazy during the eclipse. They ended up killing most of each other off. But the survivors end up finding a way to download their consciousness onto a chip in the back of their neck before they die. And then what they can do is transfer that chip to another host body, but the host body has to have special genetically modified blood called night blood. This is getting pretty specific.
Think about it. Animal behavior on Earth is affected by them too.
Now this is where they live, and as you can see, there's a lotus flower surrounding it, and what this appears to me to be is a tree trunk in the middle, which we have told you time and time again represents portals. Now, I'm already producing another trailer, which will expand more on the alien life that lives on Sanctum and how it requires sacrifice. They actually tie people to trees, and the tree eats them. It's unbelievable because we've covered all this, you guys. Trees are portals. But tomorrow we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to get into the recognizing of the feast days. Now, I don't believe the Bible says that recognizing feast days is necessary for salvation. But if Jesus and the disciples recognize them, I want to at least start covering them on this channel so you guys can have the choice to observe them or not. And I've also made a personal decision to start observing them in my life. So that's what we'll have for you guys tomorrow. And I think that's about it. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Here's the night blood or the blue blood, black blood, whatever you want to call it, genetically modified. That causes the blood to turn blue or black. I forgot to mention that. Let's go back here into the show. Thanks for all of you that showed up today. And hopefully you'll share this video. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. Get the word out on this. Put a lot of work into this particular one. All these series I put a lot of work into. I work on these things pretty much 7 to 8 hours a day. I'm working on these videos for you guys. The montages, putting together what I'm going to say and all of that. So I appreciate whatever you can do on your end to get the information out there. That's all that really matters, is that people can see the foreshadowing. That's all that really matters. And then what they'll do is they'll realize that all of this that has come through here is because of the Most High. That's who is inspiring all of this, and he gets all the glory and credit. And hopefully people at that point will turn their life to Christ so that you can actually be saved. Thanks, Bridget. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, A Remnant. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I saw Elias in here as well. Elias is going through a legal battle from what happened at the crap it hole, we have to say. So prayers for Elias. They're trying to basically crucify him for just showing up, basically. So hopefully he'll keep us posted. And at some point, we might have him on the show to talk about it. He might not be able to give too many details now because of, legal reasons until he's done with his court battle. But I believe that talking to him will give us some insight into what I believe was the biggest honey trap in world history. It was a setup through and through. I believe that the minute that people started getting into groups on Facebook and talk, these chapters were developed, the PBs were developed into these chapters. They had these Facebook groups. I believe at that point they were already monitoring these people. And we know how they can track credit card purchases and all that. They probably, the first time they gassed up and used their credit card on their way up here, they knew exactly how many people were going to show up. And they probably had their people in place all set up to stoke the fire, to get things going. They probably hacked these people's account and knew that they were talking to each other about what they were going to bring to the crap it hole. Because once you're under NSA surveillance, they can see all that. They can see text messages and everything. Do you think that our government would not have used the PAT Act to go into these people's accounts and find out that they were bringing all these things that they said were brought? Of course they did. So why did they let it happen? Because it was a honey trap. So, now that we've learned our lesson, but here's the thing, here's the problem, is that now they've silenced any dissent. So people saw what happened at the crap it hole, and they don't ever want to be part of that again, and they're afraid that they could get wrapped up in the dragnet. And so now people aren't protesting like they are in other countries because the trap worked. It put people in fear. They don't want to lose their livelihood. They don't want to make it on the 5 o'clock news. I think there's something like 600 people that are in trouble, big trouble. So that's all I can pretty much say about what's going on with Elias. He's a friend. I've known him for years, early on in this channel. So just pray for him that he gets out and we can move on from there. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Try to enjoy your day, time off that you have from work. And, things have changed in this country, and they've changed forever. I don't think we're ever going to go back to normal. Try to do the things that you can to be independent from the beast system, whether that means changing jobs or getting out of cities, getting some land somewhere, whatever it is you need to do. The less of the hooks of the system that are in you, the more you'll be able to serve the Most High and not give in and not compromise your morals and belief systems. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.